في تغزل رموشك بكحل العين، والهبة ربي يحميها مرفوعة جبين. واهديك أشواقي من بغداد حتى النيل، تهديني من شموخ القدس عز وخير.
Those who gather with you the beads of sweat from the forehead of the simple ones, to be studded with jewels. In the crown of the earth there are those who follow, like you, the traces of the oases, led by the longing of the tired who sings the song of the field, and the song of the toilers. The sky is towards the red stars, he shares your joy. When spring arrives you are not alone.
No human being or force in existence can erase memories. The Palestinian people have had a long experience in the process of integration into the surrounding environment, thus producing a rich cultural heritage, which became an essential part of their identity. This heritage includes archaeological and historical sites, a very rich vernacular architecture, holy shrines and sanctuaries, folkloric songs, dancing and sayings, ethnographic instruments and tools, embroidery, etc. These various components have been utilized, reproduced, restructured, and sharpened in the last 5 decades, mainly as a reaction to the denial of the existence of Palestinian identity and as a reaction to the destruction of more than 400 Palestinian villages and towns in the aftermath of the 1948 war. The Palestinian cultural heritage suffered tremendous and mostly irreversible losses through this wave of destruction. The only remains are the built-up area maps from the Mandate period, people's memories, landscapes, and a few pictures. But a great number of buildings, mosques, churches, plazas, maqam, the sanctuaries of saints, landscape, land use, memories related to space and places, cemeteries, holy trees and caves, etc., and other components of cultural heritage-based identity, were lost forever. It should be noted that most of these components are of rural origin. August 2, 1990, began like any other day. But for a short time, I did not know that it was a day that would chase me for the rest of my life. 30 years later, I can still remember many painful details for today. Other painful memories that have remained with me since that day, and the most difficult, it may be known that my difficult relationship with Palestine started since my birth in 1957. I became so angry that my family was scattered worldwide, and we began to rebuild. After we succeeded in leaving Kuwait, we finally resettled in several foreign countries and tried again to build a new life, a practice that the Palestinians mastered over time. For many years, I tried to move forward. In Finland my name became synonymous with Palestine for every person I knew. I spent countless hours talking about Palestine and presenting the Palestinian issue to my external environment. I lost in some, but I won in many of them, and each time I was successful in it, I feel I own the world. Like most Palestinians, my life has touched many different events and places, but my sense of belonging to these places has always been difficult, and I have never been able to truly claim that I enjoyed the luxury of belonging. I felt that belonging to any other place was a form of betrayal of the land we yearned for. We all call her home. I still take every opportunity to talk about Palestine and its beautiful people, even when that was not easy, and this has proven to be the most difficult at times in Arab countries. 5 years after I acquired Finnish citizenship, I officially became a Finnish citizen, and the doors of freedom of movement that were usually closed to Palestinians were opened to me. After all these years I was allowed to rediscover my Palestinian identity. I paid real attention to the rich Palestinian narration in the camps, and I became increasingly convinced of the need to transfer it to the outside world. However, I was also convinced that the voices of the refugees needed to be conveyed by the refugees themselves, not by those outside, who had throughout these years promoted a false image of the Palestinians. While Israel has actually stopped returning to our land, it cannot control our memories. I can visit Palestine in my thoughts whenever I want. I walk on our land, pray in Jerusalem, touch the ground, and feel it under my feet. Our elders may die, but not without passing love of memories of their homes and lands in Palestine to their children and their children's children. We grow up with the belief that one day we will live in our ancestral homes, and that we have the right to return to our land now occupied by the colonists. This right means everything to us. In the Palestinian diaspora and the outlying lands, the third or fourth generation arises from families that carried the key to the home and the memories of the land to the refugee camps or foreign countries, and the new generation show concern for the homeland and return to it, perhaps more than the first refugees. Many of the young Palestinians and the immigrant did not see Palestine except through satellite channels or small screens, but the inheritance of the nation's story and the details of life in it, and programs of insistence on the right of return every year, inflame the longing of the distant homeland. I had a very happy and simple childhood, surrounded by the warmth of family and friends, but it was full of ups and downs. I remember being always thirsty to see the world. Fortunately, the struggles of daily life put me in a stubborn position, and I was determined to continue education and the profession abroad, a dream that finally came upon us after the 1990 invasion of Kuwait. I got a master's degree 5 years after my stay in Finland, and I started a career here in Finland. It was wonderful to finally see that the foreign people I live in now share my eagerness, if not more, to learn more about the other side of the world, Palestine. It felt very popular here in Finland, although it was a cause for concern at first. When I obtained permanent residence permits, I realized that Palestine was not on the list of recognized states and refused to register under the name of the State of Israel. And my insistence was several years later that Palestine was finally added to the list, one of the happiest moments of my life that I can remember. And I look back on everything, I feel fortunate and privileged. I have been able to wander around and visit places outside my country's borders. Ironically, I have seen much more places than before. Today I am grateful for my ability to experience an ideal travel condition, as there was no checkpoint, and I am also grateful to live in a peaceful environment and peaceful people, where I can feel safe and lead a stress-free life, at least for the time being. This is more free than ever before. I am lucky to be surrounded by an optimistic and lively nation, really interested in my story, my background and my country. Despite all the differences between my reality, I still feel a connection between the people of Finland and the people of my country. Both of them are optimistic and fun. My plan is to continue to enrich my experience abroad and benefit from it until I return to my home, and use all my positive experiences to bring about social and economic change in Palestine. Palestinians living in Palestine may have a less romantic view of their homeland. For them, Palestine is the reality in which they live daily, instead of the unrealized place that many dreamed of, or heard about from their ancestors. But after I grew up, Palestine was no longer a romantic home, or a dream for me, but rather my true home. It is the place where my grandparents live, and where my grandmother makes upside down. I have friends and memories from childhood, and in it I encountered the political reality of the region. In my opinion, this is the main difference between what it means to be established as a Palestinian inside Palestine, and to be Palestinian in the diaspora. The perception of the place is very different. My roots are like distant memory, very real, imaginable, but I cannot recall all their intricate details. Orange fields. Our homes. Our memories. The songs of our childhood throughout this country are the river of our love that flows forever. The land in which our roots are extended to the depths. We have been raped, our beautiful joy was robbed of us. And a bunch of thieves he threw us out. Not by any means other than killing, violence and terror. And the same sounds of bullets. So what would we do if we were real human beings? If we truly love our country, and respect its love for us and our memories with it. If we respected and cherished our childhood, is it a substitute for resistance? And by what means do we resist? Do we face bullets with fists, shells with plates and mines with spoons and knives with cloth strips, tanks with wreaths of roses? Do we face prisons and torture cells with songs? The emotional and tales of 1001 nights. It remains in myself and the heart of my being. After everything, I was born with them. I was born in the Palestinian struggle, and I was born with the eyes of almonds and olive skin. My roots are deep, much deeper than olive trees, and much stronger than walls. The historical context of my identity itself is the same context that drives me to the streets to show solidarity with my country. It is the same solidarity that brings tears to my eyes when I hear the verses of the Palestinian poet Mahmoud Darwish. Thinking about the house and the smell of our home bread that is being prepared before dawn, and hearing God is great, is just beginning to take its appearance. I am not the diaspora, I am gunpowder, I am stones. I am a deep-rooted olive tree, just as I cannot be uprooted. I am still Palestine. Being a Palestinian often means living through an extraordinary and illogical reality, which is what imposes us. That is why I chose to start my story not from the beginning, but from the end. I am ready to give everything so that I can see the lives of refugees easier. I have been tolerant and still face many difficulties. I see myself as a Palestinian who has the right to return to the homeland Palestine, which is linked spiritually, mentally and physically. I always remember her, but I always worry about what will happen, or where will I go next. Knowing that Finland is definitely not my last destination. My family is originally from the city of Mijdal, 30 kilometers from Gaza, but I was born in Gaza and grew up in Kuwait. Kuwait was the first point in which I strengthened my relationship with Palestine, and I spent 33 years before I had to leave because of the 1990 Gulf War. The war destroyed 33 years of beautiful memories and big dreams. My personal identity is not determined by geographical locations. All I care about is the rights of the Palestinian people, wherever they are. In this sense, the fate of 500,000 Palestinians in Kuwait, the displacement and the loss they suffered is more than my sense of personal loss. We eventually fled, and I did not find any Arab country to receive me or allow me to enter it, so I went to Turkey until I got the right to immigrate to Finland. I came to Finland at the end of 1991, but my relationship with my Palestinian identity has deepened. Some Palestinian refugees use their experiences as a weapon to fight their displacement and enemy. War today is the war of existence, after all, to be or not to be. This motivates me to fight for Palestine, and to help local communities meet the challenges until the right to return to Palestine is realized. As a Palestinian refugee, I leave many memories behind every time I leave a place, but I have never lost nor will I ever lose my Palestinian identity or my complete belief in the Palestinian cause. It is my cause and the cause of every Palestinian in this world.
أعطيك عيوني تقطف لي نجوم الليل، تنام الناس وعيوني سهرانة الليل، كوفية تغزل رموشك بكحل العين، والهيبة ربي يحميها مرفوعة جبين، واهديك أشواقي من بغداد حتى النيل، تهديني من شموخ القدس عز وخير. ارميني في بحور الشعر كالأطلال، الحر بعمره ما يرجع رب اللي يعين، والغربة صعبة والفرقة عكتف ثقال، وان طال البعد لابد تتلاقى العين، طفلة وعيونها الحلوين من عمان، ويا كثرة شوقي من